There we go. Oh, there we go. So, welcome. My name's Auri Rahimzadeh. I'm the owner at Auri's Ideas. It's just a little consulting company I have just for all my side projects, really. I do have a real job, but this is also my fun stuff. If you want to reach out to me at any time after this conversation, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm just Auri, so that's easy enough. My website, auri.net, and my email address, also very difficult, auri@auri.net. Oddly enough, people will email me at auri.com often. That is not the right place. That is car polish, which I have used on my car, and not auri.org, which is the Agricultural Utilization Research Institute, which I have actually stayed in a hotel next door to. So it was funny. I was like, oh, that's the place that's the .org version of my name. So tonight we're going to talk about Azure Media Services, so working with cloud encoding and playback. So sometimes, why would you want media services, right? I mean, what's the point? But, well, sometimes you need to. You want to provide, I'm not going to read the slides, but video streaming services in some sort of application. For example, if you're building a mobile app and you need to stream live, how would you do that? Would you go cobble together a bunch of open source solutions and try to make things work and figure out the hosting, all that work? How would you provide video upload capabilities? Like maybe you need to upload test videos, to put into an issue management system that you've built. How would you get those videos into that test management system or that testing system or issue management system and get them processed? So that could also be cobbled together with a whole bunch of services. How would you use these in a common way across multiple presentation tiers? So a mobile app, a desktop app, a web app, web on mobile devices, web on desktop, web on tablets. There's a lot of things to think about when it comes to video. It's not as simple as video. It's not as simple as audio. There's a lot of things you have to think about, especially when it comes to the infrastructure to support it. And even if you did go that route, encoding properly is a big hardware pull. So, video encoding takes a very long time. The hardware can be expensive to do it quickly. If you're only doing a little encoding per month, that investment is likely not worthwhile. It's also hard to scale that, because you got to buy a lot of hardware just to scale things. So it's hard to get a return on, your ROI would be bad. Streaming itself is an expensive proposition. So once you have something encoded, how do you stream it? You can't stream it from home. You're not going to stream it from the office. And it uses a lot of bandwidth. So how do you take care of that? And how do you scale? So yeah, maybe you got one server streaming out, from whatever storage you've got. But what happens when you have 1,000 streams that need to happen? How do you scale that? And YouTube has learned a lot of these lessons. I don't know how many people remember the early days of YouTube, but you can really see how YouTube has changed. The ability to buffer, the ability to play offline, the scaling to various devices, and doing this all just automatically. Like when you watch YouTube, you don't fidget with anything. You navigate to a YouTube video, and my guess is you just expect it to work. Whether you use the app, the website, you switch between the two, it just works. It's kind of fascinating. Now, Microsoft has learned lessons as well. They have to do a lot of video streaming. Look at Xbox. Look at heck, Channel 9. Look at all the different video services Microsoft has provided. So they have a lot of experience and are no slouch in this area as well. So it's interesting if you already have a if you're already doing these sort of services and you own a hosting solution, like Google, owns YouTube, Microsoft owns, the Microsoft Video Services, and Xbox, and that media side of things, and even what the Microsoft the MSNBC partnership. You could take the infrastructure you have for providing all of these media services and start selling it too and make additional money. But you get to take advantage of that kind of scale, know-how, and knowledge, and management structure. So Azure Media Services is the solution from Microsoft for providing media services. And when I say media, that's audio and video. So you don't have to do video. You can just do audio. You can also do video without audio. These are all options. You can do live streaming. AMS, as it's often referred to, will very quickly encode your media. So you've probably used, I don't know if you've used YouTube to upload a video, but it's crazy fast how quickly it encodes a video. Like I've uploaded a gigabyte video, and in an hour or so it's done. I also have a really fast internet connection, so I can upload it quickly too. But they have all the infrastructure to do that. So does Microsoft, and it does it very quickly. It's not, excuse me, it's not super custom. Everything's just simply stored in Azure Blob Storage. So if you already understand how to work with containers and such in Azure, storage containers, blob storage, then you already understand how videos are stored in AMS. It takes care of all the auto negotiation of the playback. So it can figure out based on bandwidth, based on resolution, etc., what stream to send you. And it will automatically create various streams as part of this process, the encoding process, to send the right stream to you. Like it goes, I believe, all the way down to an audio only stream to a super deluxe like 1080p stream. You can configure all of this. So what I'm talking about is what you get effectively out of the box, but you can customize all of it, where it automatically builds thumbnails, what specific resolutions are supported. It's very powerful. Now, it also handles all the scale for you. So when you're done doing your encoding, it'll give you a streaming manifest, and you just point to that manifest URL. And you can point that to the Azure Media Player, which I'll be talking about in a moment. And it'll automatically take care of all this stuff for you. Now, you notice the media playback tool, that is the Azure Media Player. So you don't have to use the Azure Media Player, but it's insanely powerful, and they update it all the time. It's all written in JavaScript. It has automatic fallback to Flash. Like you can, try different. It's very powerful. It's very flexible, and you don't even have to use its UI. They have full documentation where you can override everything in it for the most part and put your own skin on top of it to make it do things. And I will be showing that tonight. There's additional services that they offer. For example, you can index video and grab metadata like what I show here: faces, text, spoken words, determine emotions. That's their video indexer service. They also have a, it starts with an R, like a retraction. I think it's a retraction service. I got the name somewhere. And it'll automatically blur out people's faces in video as part of the processing. So now I believe it'll only charge you once as part of the encoding process to do that. But it's kind of cool that you could basically, as part of the encoding job, say, I want you to do indexing. I want you to do the blurring of the faces, and it just goes and takes care of it for you and tells you when it's done. And if you need to protect the content of your video, it also supports DRM. If you don't know what that is, that's digital rights management. Now, you can see Office didn't know how to do anything with design ideas once I started inking. Development of this is insanely simple. You basically upload the file that you need to an asset. You queue it. You queue a job, an encoding job, and then you just basically wait for success. And once you get the job result, then you're done. And it's not hard. They have a lot of code out there, a lot of code examples, and I'll be walking you through some of the code. We're not going to deep dive into it because that's just a bit much to do over video, but it's very simple. Now, you can see, you can just basically grab some NuGet packages. Now, important is there's a V2 that's no longer supported, and there's a V3. Make sure you're using the V3 stuff. V2, I believe, has gone away. So this, a lot of stuff will point to this, you'll see it in the URL, it'll say previous in the URL. So if you see that, be wary. So make sure you do the V3. Now, you're not stuck because this is a Microsoft product. If you've worked with Azure, Microsoft is very open about supporting a lot of different platforms. There's Java, there's PHP, there's Node, there's even a full set of REST endpoints. So you're all good to go right there. So if you're on those stacks, you're all taken care of. And like I said, easy to get started. And now, if you haven't seen this, a lot of people apparently don't know about this, but with Azure, if you just have a personal account, so this doesn't work with like enterprise subscriptions, but it works with personal accounts. So you could just use your personal account and use it with enterprise services. For I think it's $29 a month. It might be $30. You get developer support on Azure. So you can open up a developer ticket on any Azure service. And they will put you in touch with developer resources to walk you through how to do all of this. They'll give you code examples. They'll look at code with you. They're not going to write the code for you, but this was hugely useful for me because I was having issues with their profiles. Like the profile that I built wasn't creating what I wanted, and they actually just took my profile, did the tweaks for me, and sent it back. Very cool people, just very professional, and it was really neat. So yeah, I don't know where else you can get that for $29, $30 a month. So if you haven't seen that, I could also put a link to it. I'm going to see if I can find that real quick so I don't forget. Azure developer subscription. I'm just typing it in to see if I can find it. Yeah. I'm pasting that in there. I think this is the right one. Oh, that might be the wrong one. Hold on. Let me see. Microsoft 365 developer program, get started. There it is. Cool. Yay. All right. So hopefully everyone sees that. So let's take a look at a code example. What does this look like, to write the code? So one important thing, I don't know that your needs aren't going to change. So whenever you're using a third-party service to provide a critical component in your solution, Write an interface. Build an interface for it so you can swap it out later. Code with intent. Don't go, we're going to use AMS. But then what if we switch to Amazon? Oh crap, we hard-coded everything. It's all concrete implementations. Hey, you just had an interface with things like, upload, queue is complete, or check status, get status. All of these things are probably similar across every service that you might use. So why wouldn't you do this in a more generic fashion? So heads up, before you do any implementation where you rely on important services like this, abstract it out so you could swap it at will. Who knows? Maybe Amazon's cheaper at some point. Maybe you started with Amazon and you need to switch to Azure. Or who knows? Someone else comes out with another service, like Facebook comes out with something. This way you can very quickly swap out your implementation and also test it. So we're going to test a new implementation. Don't worry, all of our code just codes to the interface, the contract, rather than a concrete. And now it's very easy to swap things out in your code base. Words of wisdom save you a lot of time because time is money. It's also a great translator to frustration. So let me stop presenting this and start showing Visual Studio. If I can find it. All right, so hopefully you can all see Visual Studio. This is a little bit of customer code, so I'm not going to get into any details about all of it, but this is very simple. I basically queue up a job, and then I check for service for the status. So I copy a video from my temp storage over to an asset. An asset is an asset in Azure Media Services, so it represents all of the media assets that are going to be created. So I need you to encode this video in this asset and basically create all the different versions of it that are going to end up being streamed. I also have a custom transform. So here you can see it's basically the settings for the video encoding. And I just go and say, hey, in my video processing service, go create a video encoding transform. I'm kind of hiding the code here because there's code examples all over. I'll show you some of this. Then you just create a job and start it. So I just say create and start a video encoding job. I pass it the transform, which is what are the settings I need you to use. I'm going to tell you the input asset, which is the video that I need to be encoded, and the output asset, which is where I want you to put the finished work. And I pass along, in this case, I pass a video object, which is just additional details about the video. And then I grab the, I get the job name for tracking. So what happens after I queue up the job, see, create and start video encoding job, it'll return the job name to me. So I can then query that. Hey, are you done? 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 And when it's done, then I mark it complete. So that's what happens here. So this first part was I queued up the video. I upload the video. I set the transform, which is the settings for encoding, and I queued the job. Then let's see. I go and I get the job. See right here, var job to check. I get the list of jobs for the Azure resource group. If you've worked with Azure, this all makes sense. The Azure AMS account name and the transform name, and then the media services job name. So go get me the status for this particular job. Now a job can have multiple things going on, so but I don't use it that way, but a job can have multiple things going on, as I recall. So if I get a job back, I check. So when I get this result back, I go, hey, if the job isn't an error or canceled, which, I mean, these are common states, not common to fail. I don't think I've ever seen an error since I started using their newer services, and I've never canceled a video. If I don't get it back, I effectively mark it as failed. So job was null, that's unexpected. But if it's finished, yay, which is generally the case, I go and I get the asset, I get the streaming URI. So this is the URI for actually streaming the video in the video player. I save some stuff to the database, which doesn't really affect you. I also go get the file name for the thumbnail. So remember I said that you could auto-generate thumbnails? Well, part of my transform, the video encoding settings, is to create the thumbnail as part of it. So I say, hey, just go copy the thumbnail from the asset to my thumbnail storage. I wrote a little helper method to do that. Remember, the asset holds all of your media related to the particular encoded result. And I make sure that I actually got one. And that's it. I'm done. And that's how easy it was. I didn't have to really know anything about video encoding. I just had to queue the job. Let me show you. Let me go back to did I share? I think I shared Visual Studio. So let me go share back to PowerPoint. I can find it. There we go. Boop, 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 boop. Back to PowerPoint. So remember, all I had to do, I upload it. Okay. The key term here is I uploaded the video blob into an asset. So those terms can be confusing at first because blob is known, but asset isn't. But a blob gets uploaded into an asset. And then you queue your job against your asset. So you queue the job, and then you basically wait for success. Pretty easy peasy. What does this look like when it all comes together? So one of my customers is Zoom, and what they do, it's really cool. They do video reviews for referees, for sports officials. So they have people upload video of games, like high school games, middle school games, college games, what have you, and use that to train referees. Like, was this the right call? And they can annotate it so they could have a video, and they can say, see this right here, see the balls right here, see the players right here and the players right here. Why was this called a foul? Because it shouldn't have been. So they can review everything with video. And it's very cool. They can do voiceovers, they can do slides, really, really cool stuff. And so I'll show you what this looks like in the wild. It's really neat. It's pretty fascinating. Hold on one moment. So I'm going to switch over to my browser. I'll just start using screen one. Should generally be okay. Come on, there we go. So we could look at Zoom. Very cool. By the way, their app is using Xamarin, and it uses the Azure Media Services player, which auto adjusts for the size of the screen. So we'll log in. So you can take a look at a video here. And this is the Azure Media Services player. All of this is custom. Here's those telestrations. See how it's drawing on top of them. These are the telestrations. They can do comments. They can do quizzes. It's very cool. But all of this stuff is custom. So you're not stuck with some like ugly looking video player. You can modify any way you like. Go forward and back 3 seconds. That's all custom. Automatic pausing. That's all built in. It's really fascinating. So this is a full custom implementation of the Azure Media Services player. But it also has, let me see if I can find it, the Azure Media Services player, Azure Media Player. I'm trying to find if they have the example in here of it working, which I'll find one here in just a moment, but it's free. You don't have to pay anything extra to mess with it. It's very cool. So that's Zoom. Zoom is it's a really cool product, and they heavily use Azure Media Services. And you can see it started streaming almost immediately. It gave a lot of flexibility. Yeah, and once you have that video URL and the thumbnail, you're all set. Really neat stuff. Now, how much does it cost? So one is you pay by the minute. So similar to Azure Functions, you pay by the minute. But it's like, I think it's pay by the minute for a lot of stuff. But the streams come out to about 3 cents per stream per day. Plus, and here's the biggie, storage cost. So it's important that if you're going to use Azure Media Services, storage can get out of hand if you're not careful. So once you've done the video encoding, so let's say you go and you upload, a 4 gigabyte 1080p video straight from your camera. Well, after you've encoded everything, you need to make sure you go delete that 4 gigabyte video, or you're just going to keep paying for that to just sit there in Azure storage in perpetuity. And it's easy to forget that those things are there. So make sure that when you code, you're cognizant of this being a lot of data. Now, some of the other services though, like Redactor and Indexer, those are billed per minute. But I think it's like one-time thing. So like once you've done the redacting, you don't keep paying for it. And the indexing, I don't think you keep paying for it. Now, whether that works with live streaming, because this supports live streaming, I don't know the details on that one. So I don't know if that works with live streaming or not. And if it does, then my guess is that you would pay for that continuous processing of that live stream. It would still be once, right? Because it's just a live stream. It's not like you're doing 10 live streams at once. You're doing the one live stream. So keep these things in mind. Cost is a thing, and you should make sure you control it. Now, there's some phenomenal tooling around the Azure Media Services. One is the Azure Media Player, which I already showed you. It's fully customizable. It does support DRM, so if you need DRM, you don't have to do a custom solution. It supports DRM out of the box, and it's routinely updated. And if you have that developer account, you can talk to the engineers and say, "Hey, I need help," and or I found a bug. Can you tell me what I need to do? And they can get the right people involved. You also get this very cool solution called Azure Media Services Explorer. Now, it's a really powerful tool that shows you all of your jobs, their progress. You can stream them. You can change their visibility, whether they're published or not published. So you can upload a video and not publicly publish it. You can put access around it. It's very cool, and you control a lot of settings. So hopefully you can see this. This is Azure Media Services Explorer, AMSE. You'll usually see that. You'll see it called AMSE. So if you ever hear an engineer say, have you checked in AMSE? That's what this is, the Azure Media Services Explorer. So here you can see these are videos that have been uploaded, and you can see here's the assets when they were created, and you can see a multi-bitrate MP4 was created. When they expire, which obviously is 1999 or 1999, 9999, not going to expire anytime soon. All right, let's see. Oh, apparently my phone is going to keep on saying that I'm getting a phone call. Hopefully it stops making that sound soon. You can also see, remember I was talking about those transforms? So here you can see Zoom has their own transform. So I have a default one, encodes video for streaming and generates a preview thumbnail. When I last modified it, I'm not sure, can I see it? Yeah, I can kind of see like the outputs. So you can kind of see this is what a profile looks like. So create one at a 128K bit rate. You can't change it here, by the way. It labels them, like here's HD at 1280 by 720. Here's SD 960 by 540. Kind of see all the setup here. You can also see the file name formats. So bitrate extension, but then here's how it does the thumbnail. This is documented. You don't have to guess at it, but that developer program will greatly help you here, because they're so used to the details of it that it helps. Cool things here, you can actually find like one of these assets. You can see which ones are published. See how it says published, and you can right click these and look at all the options: display information, tools. And by the way, this is an open source product, so you can actually just go view the source. So you can display information, see the asset blobs, so you can see the sizes of them, different resolutions. You can also go use the canned playback, so you can say play it back with the Azure Media Player. Also supports MPEG Dash. And this will, you can say open it in the default browser, but you can also say which one. So here it gives you a link that you can copy if you like. But you can also, I think you can just hit OK and it'll bring it up. There you go. See? And here's the unskinned Azure Media Player. So you can see, I mean, the Zoom version is greatly customized. But this just goes and plays the video, just like that. You can get the documentation and samples right there. So I'll put a link to that here. I'll add it to my, discard. I'll put it over here because I'm going to share my links anyway. There you go. Cool. There's also PowerShell commandlets that'll help you with all of this. They're just part of the Azure suite. So for creating your media services account and the various containers that you need, all of that can be done through PowerShell. So very easy. You can, I think you can also use the Cloud Shell, Azure Cloud Shell. So if you want to get started, Azure Media Services, there's a C# walkthrough. You just go over at docs.microsoft.com. You just look at this and just hit Media Services. Make sure to use V3, not V2. And the Azure Media Player documentation, especially if you're going to put this on a website where you want to do customizations, you're going to want to go and read those documents. It's all JavaScript. You don't have to know anything funky other than JavaScript. So you can definitely figure this out. Heck, even I made modifications. And that's it. Any questions? Thank you very much for your time. Any questions? Go ahead and stop presenting.
Samir's wanting to know if you got any sample code.
Yeah. Let me go find. They gave me an example. Let me see if I can get the repo. Training. Here it is. Let me find. Here's a link. Let me know if this looks okay for you. You're welcome, John. I'll put this in the slides as well, because I know how it is. Is that what you're looking for, Samir? I will show you another thing. Let me find, where's my, is this video processor? There it is. I'll show you one of the things I was working on. You're welcome. Bring this up, and then I'll show you. Let me share my screen. I'll just share. Oh, there it is. Okay. You should be able to see this now. So here you can see I created an iVideo processor. Oh, yay, ReSharper's installed. Come on, take me to my video processor. Oh, that's right, I'm pressing Control F12. Come on, take me there. Stop fighting me, ReSharper or Visual Studio. So here you can see, I just made this relatively generic. I need to upload, I need to queue for processing, and I need to get status. Those are the three things I'm going to do. And I created an enum of just, hey, these are probably what the case is going to be, like whether there's an error, if it's uploaded, if it's queued, if it's processed. These are generic things that I would want to track. And the video model, I made relatively generic. So like a service processing job ID. So what's the job in the whatever service I'm using? What's the video ID? However it's stored. The processing status, so I can track it and default it to pending. The title of the video, the local file location, the remote file location, and just a stub for updating the status. Because how I'm going to do it, I don't know, but this, that should be some sort of option I've got. Now I can technically also create an iVideo model that has all of these items in it, and then this is something else. But I know I want that. I know I want that feature in there. So, yeah, but I could still, put that in the iVideo model, but I didn't want to over-architect it. Easy enough for me to just extract this all to an interface if I need to. And this one, by the way, I don't know if anyone's seen how to do this. If you've ever wondered, how in the world do I use dependency injection in a console app in .NET Core? Because it's easy in ASP.NET Core, but how do you do that stuff inside of just a regular console app? This is how you do it. So it's very simple. You have to create a host builder because you need something to host the container, and you build it, and then you create your new scope, and then everything's available now. So I can say video processor from my scope, go get me a required service, and I can kick the whole process off. So FYI, if you've struggled with trying to figure out how to make all that work, this is how easy it is. It's actually really not hard. But finding a good example of how to set up, how to use the built-in IOC container in a console app in .NET Core was harder than I thought it would be. But now I've done it, so I can copy and paste. And I got to bring in all the NuGet packages that have this stuff. So if you're curious what those packages are, I'll bring them up so you can just see. But here you can see it's all in the Microsoft extensions. So here's for all the configuration stuff, and then here's your dependency injection. You'll need hosting because you're in the console app, and then if you want any logging, you can go get that. And then all this stuff will work. Hopefully that helps somebody. Great. Any other questions? Nope. All right, I'm going to stop recording then.